All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the 215 Sports Podcast. It's your boy Andrew sitting at the front. We back at the studio.
Finally.
With Tyler across from me.
Nice to actually be back here in the studio for the first time in a couple weeks.
We were getting ready to come in today. We heard some breaking news from the Phillies that Rob Thomson is fired. He's gone as the manager. They have the worst record, tied for the worst record in baseball with the Mets, 9-19. Don Mattingly takes over as the interim manager. So just want to start with you, Tyler. I want to get your first initial thoughts on this, that Rob Thomson is gone as Phillies manager.
Well, first things first, I want to say is that it was definitely time to make a change. And even though I don't believe that this is necessarily Rob Thomson's fault and that the blame cannot solely be placed on Rob Thomson, he is at fault with creating the lackadaisical type of everything's fine kind of culture that's been permeating through this clubhouse for the first 30 games of the season, where no matter how badly they get their teeth kicked in, it seems like they just kind of sit back and they're like, oh no, we're not worried about anything. Like, it's time to start worrying. It is definitely
time to start worrying. The team's got a record of 9-19. They just came off a 1-6 road trip.
They've lost 11 out of the
last 12. They're lucky that they were able to snap their 10-game losing streak, because if they don't, they're taking a 12-game losing streak back here. You're sitting at 7, 8, and 20.
Yep.
The worst record in baseball. And you said even a couple episodes ago that the Braves, who got off to a really bad start last year, started like 0-8.
Mm-hmm.
You said, teams can't get off to starts like that, or guess what's going to happen? Their season's going to be over come April, and look what happened. Their season is over.
That's where the Phillies kind of are at this point.
The Phillies season is pretty much all but over. It's April.
And the funny thing is when I said that a couple weeks ago, I'm pretty sure I said it to you in the breath of like, oh, we don't have to worry. It's not like the Phillies are going to play that bad. They have played that bad. They have literally been that bad.
So bad. Here are the stats.
They're 10.5 games out of the division, and it's not even May.
It's not even May. Like, that is, you've already lost the division.
Yeah, you can't win the division at this point anymore.
At this point.
Especially with the fact that you've already lost 2 series to the Braves. That you're not going to, even if you tie them, you're not going to overtake them.
Yeah. I mean, the Braves have solely locked up the division.
Yeah, the division is already over.
Yeah. Hold on. Here are the stats. 29th in team batting average at .219. 29th in on-base percentage at .294. 27th in slugging percentage at .362. 28th in team ERA at .513. I mean, what do you even say to that?
The craziest thing about the stats that you just said there is even with this team getting 15 home runs so far from Schwarber and from Harper, that they are still 27th in slugging percentage.
Bryce Harper and maybe a little bit of Kyle Schwarber and Brandon Marsh are the only ones that are actually hitting the baseball right now. Everyone else is terrible. Alec Boehm is the worst hitter on the planet. I mean, we were just talking about it before I pressed the record button. You said, what, 412 OPS? Like a 170 average?
Yeah, he's got 412 OPS batting average.
Marchand, that has...
His average is 143, his batting average.
Marchand is batting under 100.
Yep, .98.
And his OPS is like 300.
Yep.
You have Bryson Stott, who can't seem to hit a baseball for his life. We already talked about him. If he continues to suck, he's going to get the boot. You got Garcia, who's a 600 OPS hitter, has not been a replacement to Nick Castellanos whatsoever besides his defense. You have JT, who's getting paid $15 million. He's on the injured list. You have Crawford, who has fallen down to earth after one good week in the majors. And you have Trey Turner, who also is not even touching a 700 OPS, is playing really bad baseball, is not playing the best defense either, and it's bad. Like, it's bad when the team is batting a guy that you just called up a couple days ago, and Felix Reyes,
Fourth.
His second career start, you bat him fourth.
Yeah, that goes to show you how dire the situation is when it comes to figuring out the rest of the lineup 4 through 9.
It doesn't tell you, because Dave Dombrowski comes on and says we don't have a cleanup hitter. Well, that's because you did no attempts to make a cleanup hitter. You're fine with I like our club. Work at that where we are.
So
I'm Dave Dombrowski, and I like to ruin every single ball club.
They were saying on the radio today, they were like, do you think that Dave Dombrowski gets asked straight up whether or not he has a good club? Like, does one of the reporters just straight up ask him,
goodness.
Hey, Dave, do you feel you have a good club? And see what he says.
It's honestly like infuriating, because Dave Dombrowski comes out and says this as he tries to, get the fans like a little bit happier, but none of the fans are happy.
Dude, I already know what he's gonna say. He's gonna sit there.
Good club.
He's gonna be like, yeah. So I think that this team is a lot better than the record would indicate, and I think that we've had some bad luck. There's been a lot of bloop hits. Our pitchers have had a lot of fluky type of runs that have been scored. Our defense has been a little sloppy. If we're able to just clean up the fundamentals, I could see this team turning it around.
I think that this team is still able to be good enough, and they're able to compete for a spot in the postseason. I think we have a good ball club. The players are just getting off to a little cold stretch, but we'll get there soon.
Man, let's see if how many times he's gonna say it's still early. It's still early in the season.
It's still early, but if you go this homestand and you lose all these games, I mean, even if you go like 5-5 on the homestand, you're still 10 games under 500.
And also, Dave, it's still early. Why don't you tell yourself that message yourself when you just fired your manager? It's still early.
It's still early.
Oh, really? Not early enough to not fire the manager, though.
Fire the manager this early into the season. Like,
we are less than 30 games into the season, and Rob Thomson has got the sack already.
It comes to my speculation, like, did they have an intention of firing him after the series against the Dodgers? Because there's no way that they were thinking of that, and then...
That must have been the reason Mattingly got brought in here in the first place.
It had to have been. Because or it was an attempt to, sign Bo Bichette, but obviously he went and chose the money.
Right.
But even still, there had to be some speculation or some thought from Dombrowski that had him thinking maybe we fire Rob after the Dodgers series, because you don't fire a manager 30 games into the season. You don't. You wait till either like June or July. Like Joe Girardi got fired in June.
Right.
Charlie Manuel got fired in August. Like, you don't
Problem is, you need a turnaround now.
You need a turnaround now.
You can't wait until June.
Yeah, but the players you're putting out on the field, you don't have a turnaround. They need to win at like a 95-game pace to even put themselves back in a postseason spot.
Yeah, they're going to have to probably win, I would think, at least 91 or 92 games to get the last wild card.
Yeah, and they're 9 wins. That's 80. That's 82 wins in like their next 140 games. They need to go like 80-60.
Yeah,
and
we have seen these players do that before.
We've seen it, but it's hard.
It's not an easy thing to go 20 games over 500, no matter how many games it is that you're playing. Like even when you look over extended periods of time for managers and winning percentages, it's not very often that you sit there and see seasons where they had 20 plus more wins than losses. That just doesn't typically happen.
It's bad. Like, you throw in the white flag already. I'm an advocate for Rob Thomson. I really like Rob Thomson. I think he did not make that much mistakes as a manager.
This is not his fault.
It's not his fault.
This is 100% not his fault. If you want to say that he was contributing to the overall lackadaisical feel from the team and their attitudes and how they speak after the game, that's fine. But he can't do anything about how they play on the field. It's
not like he's sitting out there trotting out, Bryce Harper, you could take the day off. We're just going to put Felix Reyes at first base, switch around the lineup. It's not like he goes out and says, oh, Duran, you could take the day off. We're going to have Tim Mesa close out the game
And
instead.
look at the roster that he has. It's not like he has a bunch of young people on his roster that he can...
It's piss poor.
Right, like he can't... Even if like you wanted to sit there and say, well, what is he doing to make the players better? These players are all into their 30s for the most part.
These players have
They are what they are.
These players are getting paid 20 to 30 millions of dollars.
Exactly.
You should be already able to play good. This is all on Dave Dombrowski. When you field, Dave Dombrowski is the guy that puts the players on the field. He's the one that is responsible for that. And when you give the manager bum players like Taijuan Walker, Nick Castellanos, Whit Merrifield, Jordan Romano, Joe Ross, Max Kepler, Dylan Moore.
The list can go on.
The list can go on and on. Like, it's hard. It's hard to do that.
Dylan Moore, Austin Hayes, Rafael Marchand.
Yeah, Marchand, Stubbs. I mean, Kyle Backus, Didi Gregorius,
Didi.
This is ridiculous.
I mean, he got brought in before Dombrowski.
This is ridiculous from Dombrowski. You're $38 million down the trash because you have two players that have brains of the size of a pebble.
Well, with those two guys, the saddest part is you're paying them this amount of money, and
they're not even on the roster.
Taijuan Walker's probably not going to get picked up by another major league team, and if he does get signed, it's most likely going to be to a minor league contract. And Nick Castellanos is performing so bad that he's going to get cut.
He's going to get cut because he's so bad.
So
he has a 400-something OPS with like a 160 average.
So you got $38 million tied up in players that not even aren't going to be on your roster. They're just not going to be on a major league roster, period.
You fired the manager you just gave an extension to.
Yep, literally, 60 days ago?
Literally, right as they signed Schwarber again.
It was what, January when he got the extension?
You've had an easy schedule to the year. Likewise, when you look at it at first glance, you should be beating these teams, and clearly you're not. You're bottom 5 in everything in the sport.
Yep.
You have $810 million that are still owed to 8 players that will be 33 or older by the end of the offseason.
You got a bottom 3 minus run differential.
You have a bottom 3 minus run differential, and you have a bottom 10 farm system in baseball because none of the prospects work out.
And you are probably a solid 30-something to 50-something million over the CBT threshold.
Yep.
So Middleton's still going to get taxed for this horrible team.
Don't worry though, because Harry the K, that just gets him some napkins.
Think about it. Think about how John Middleton must feel. He's going to get taxed at the end of the season for this roster being as expensive as it is, and he has 9 wins to show for it so far.
They're going to finish at this rate. They are going to finish with 73 wins if they're going to continue to play like this.
Yeah.
Baseball Reference has them at a 14% chance at the playoffs. And that's high.
I mean, 14% is the type that you would expect to see from the Colorado Rockies at this point in the season, not the Philadelphia Phillies.
No, you would expect the Phillies at 60 to 70%.
Yeah, at a low ball.
At a low ball,
a low ball.
Yeah,
point, you would
they
expect
should be
them to be there.
80 to 90%, and we're talking 14%.
They have a team that, on paper, is one of the better 6 teams, I want to say.
They have the third highest payroll in baseball.
And there has been nothing that any player has been able to do to stop this. 9
wins out of this. You have the $810 million. You have Turner that gets paid $27 million until he's 40. You have Schwarber that gets paid $30 million for the next 5 seasons. You have Nola, who is absolutely terrible now. Basically gave up 6 runs and said, "Here you go, Rob. I'm gonna give you 6 runs. I'm gonna give the offense no run support for your last game as a Philly." And you have $24 million on him for the next 5 seasons.
Yep. You got Zach Wheeler.
You have Zach Wheeler for $42 million for 2 more seasons, but that's it because he's calling it quits.
Yep.
You have JT, who was signed to another ridiculous contract, who has $15 million for 3 more seasons.
And that contract is literally looking like worse and worse with every game.
Disaster. It's a disaster. And then you have Harper, who's the only Dombrowski signing, who could actually be he's already been worth the contract, but
Yeah, and him and Schwarber are the only two guys, and Marsh.
but
Because Marsh is playing well.
and Marsh isn't getting paid $1 trillion.
No, but those are the only three people that you can really abstain or absolve from a good chunk of the blame, because those are the only three people that have really been performing. None of the other players on this roster have performed well enough to make it so that Rob Thomson has kept his job.
No, no one has performed up to expectation. I mean, Christopher Sanchez has been, up and down all season.
Yeah, the pitching isn't even been good.
The pitching is atrocious.
Luzardo and Nola.
Luzardo has like a
good.
6 ERA. Walker, we already talked about him.
Yep.
Painter has like a 5 ERA. He hasn't been looking good. And that's like the bet.
He's been
and that's like
decent.
That's your second best pitcher on the team. That's the second best starting pitcher right now is Andrew Painter.
Yeah.
And you're relying on another rookie. You have the bullpen and Duran's on the injured list, but I can't say nothing bad about him. He's been doing
fine.
good. You knew that was going to be coming into the season. You have Alvarado, who's had a down year. He's not been good. You have Keller, who has not been good either. You have, Backus, who has not been good. Meza, who has been okay.
Yeah. Banks hasn't been great.
Banks has been awful.
And
then the rest are like...
I guess Kerkering's been decent.
Kerkering's been okay, and then the rest are, Walmart workers. Like...
Yeah, like Zach Pop and
Chase Sugar.
Yeah, what's the other guy? Jamie Bolin.
Jonathan Bolin.
Jonathan Bolin, yeah.
These guys are... they replaced Lil Jordan Humphrey at Walmart.
Alan Rangel.
Yeah, Alan Rangel, Nolan Hoffman... the only positive thing I can say is that Zach Wheeler actually looked good.
Yeah, and
that's, but it's not going to help. It's not going to do anything if the Phillies aren't going to win games.
It's not going to do anything if the lineup's not going to get him runs.
Zach Wheeler could go out there and pitch a complete game shutout, and the Phillies would score 0 runs in 9 innings.
It has happened before.
It's happened, yeah.
People have thrown no-hitters, or I think it's only happened once, where someone's thrown a no-hitter and lost the game. But that was Pedro Martinez in I want to say the
Here we go.
99
This
season?
So while we're recording, Dave Dombrowski's actually on a press conference, and this is
2:45.
This is his first quote. Yeah, it's 2:47 when we started the record button, and this is his first quote from Bob Nightingale. "This isn't a blame game. We collectively are not doing well."
Well, he is right about the collectiveness.
He's right about
that being what is the problem collectively. No one is performing. No one is doing what their job description would detail. So he is right, but also it kind of sounds like he's just trying to absolve blame from himself.
He is, of course he is. And here's another thing. The Phillies have an offer for Rob Thomson to be a special assistant if he chooses after taking time off. So they're willingly...
Well, like a special assistant to the general manager?
I guess. It just says special assistant from Bob Nightingale. So I guess the Phillies are content with keeping him in the organization.
That's weird.
I'm not sure about that, but...
that's strange,
I don't know, but I don't know if he wants to continue managing. He might just say, I'm done, retire.
Yeah, he might just retire. But
and
one thing
hold on, one more thing.
Okay.
He did confirm that he did try to hire Alex Cora, and that he made the call on Sunday morning.
I was going to get to that.
They had fired Rob Thomson Sunday morning. They just didn't announce it until Tuesday.
And I guess that makes sense. You have the off day. You don't want to announce it on the off day, I guess, and ruin Rob Thompson's off day, maybe, because...
Well, they probably told him Sunday after the game, we're moving in another direction, and they probably had to get some details finalized because they took the manager from AAA. He's the new third base coach. So they probably had to make adjustments in AAA and all that.
Dusty Walton to bench coach.
Yeah, so they had to make it they wanted to get everything finalized before they made an announcement.
Which that makes sense, but. the one thing I was going to get to with the Alex Cora thing, we sit here and we say how expensive this roster is and how people are underperforming and that this is a roster that is a top 6 roster in this league. If that's the case, why is Alex Cora turning them down?
I have no clue. The reason why we know is that he wants to spend more time with his family.
Right, but you know that once the offseason comes, he's just going to end up going and managing a team
He's going
next
to
season.
end up managing a team. I don't know if that he just wants to take time off for right now. Maybe like he hasn't had a summer off in a while. Maybe he wants to enjoy a summer that's, baseball free or
in his mind, is he waiting for, in his head, thinking-wise, a better position to open?
He could be, because maybe some teams fire managers once the season comes to a close, and maybe he's like, okay, we'll see what we do after that.
Right.
But another thing is, like, when you hire a manager like Cora, who's coming from a different organization, it's really hard to adjust to everything. Cora's going to be coming from a whole different ball club, from Boston to Philadelphia. And now it's really hard to adjust to something like that. It's not like English football where you lose 3 games as a manager and you're gone.
Well, right, but Mattingly is in more or less the same exact position. He's a new guy.
He is a new guy, yes, but I guess he's technically within the organization. He's been with them for
for what, 3
months?
3 months though. So
I don't know if he's just familiar with the scheme that Rob Thomson showed him, or he's familiar with all the players already, or all the coaches, or...
I don't know. I just think that it's interesting that Alex Cora was offered this position, and after the previous success winning a World Series in Boston with Dave Dombrowski, that he decided that he was going to turn him down.
A lot of people don't like Alex Cora either. Remember,
I understand
he
that.
cheated.
I understand. I'm just thinking from his perspective. If you are Alex Cora, what is it in you that makes you go, yeah, I'm going to turn down one of the premier coaching jobs in Major League Baseball? Because that's what this is viewed as around the league, is this is a premier coaching spot because of the roster that they have, because of the fan base, because of the support, and because of the home field advantage of the Citizens Bank Park. If you got people who are actively turning that down when they don't have a job, that is a bit concerning for me. Is that also not just the premise of that concerning?
I do kind of agree with your point. I just wonder, like, if he just, like I said, like, I don't know if he wants to wait until the offseason to see if he can get a more lucrative deal, or if he can, or see what else he has to say, because once the offseason comes, the Phillies will most likely be targeting Alex Cora. He'll be the number 1 target.
Right.
Dave Dombrowski will probably be texting him like every day, like, hey, can you manage a team that has a new bum on the roster every other week? And hopefully you don't like
the only reason why I sit here and I bring up this is because if Dave Dombrowski does end up getting fired at some point during this season,
and I do think that's going to happen. Dave Dombrowski, I do think that Dave Dombrowski will be no longer the president of baseball operations for the Phillies after the season.
Well, here's the thing.
I think that Mattingly
Do you know
is
who his
take
assistant
over.
general manager is?
The assistant GM?
Yeah.
It's not Mattingly's the...
It's Don
GM.
Mattingly's son.
No, Mattingly is the GM. He's not the assistant GM. He's the general manager and the president.
Oh, yeah. So that means that the son would be the boss of the father.
Yes.
And I don't really like that.
Well, what if he's not going to be the boss after this season unless he goes on like some 2022 Rob Thomson run where they go all the way to the World Series again?
Probably, but still, just the prospects and the thought of that just makes me feel a little uneasy, because if, it just, you can't have your son being your boss as your father.
Well, maybe they go and try and hire a better executive. I don't know.
Yeah, that's also true. They could always just potentially go with outside hire, or they could potentially go with someone that isn't the GM from internally to promote to president of baseball operations.
They could promote someone to that role.
But I definitely wouldn't be looking for like, that's not an ideal situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you would definitely be
It
looking
feels-
for another avenue.
It's like a little awkward.
Yeah, it's a little weird. You know, like, hey, Dad, you're really sucking it up over there. Like, can you fucking do your job? That's not the way you talk to your dad.
Hey, Dad, can you not put Dylan Moore in center field next time? Thank you.
Like, I don't know. That just seems a little weird to me, the thought process of those interactions when I play them out in my head. Like, yo, Dad, why the fuck did you bring in Jose Alvarado last night? What the fuck are you thinking?
Okay, that is pretty funny.
I'm just saying, you probably don't want to have that dynamic going around the clubhouse. That's probably not the most.
Here's another thing on Dave Dombrowski.
Let's hear it.
From the press conference. So from John Clark, is that they didn't consider any other coaching changes, as in like
Kevin Long
and
Cotham.
Cotham. Well, Cotham's good. Long is, get out of here. And Dave says he asked Don Mattingly if he wanted any other changes. He said no. Dave feels this club, you won't believe what he says, is better than their record. Should be performing better.
Wow, is that not exactly what I said he would say?
You said that.
I literally said those exact words. I already know what the first thing he's going to say is, we're a better team than what our record would indicate.
Of course. Of course.
Oh, man. I love how literally 20 minutes after I say that, he repeats word for word what I said.
You're a mind reader. You are a mind reader.
It's just with the way that Dave talks and his posturing, he's not going to sit there and put any blame on himself. He's too prideful and he's too much of an arrogant SOB.
I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith.
Well, no, he's sitting there, he's like, oh, I'm a Hall of Fame general manager. I'm a World Series winning president of baseball operations. I don't sit here and make mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and take the blame when it's the player's fault. Like, you do realize you're the one that got all these players here, so it kind of is your fault.
You're the one that has signed. You're the one that's paying $38 million to Walker and Castellanos for them not to be on the roster.
Yeah, so I just think that that's funny, man.
It is.
I'm sure we're going to get plenty of little golden nuggets from Dave today.
Yeah.
Because his conference is probably going to go on for at least another 10 to 15 minutes, I would assume.
It's probably going to be another poop show, but, we'll have to move on. So,
and
that was us.
I was going to say, I do believe Mattingly also talks today
Mattingly
at 3:45.
Mattingly should talk, yeah.
And I believe Schwarber and Harper are going to be at the podium pregame as well to talk about everything I'm not entirely sure, but I think I heard that they will be speaking pregame and postgame. So
they always speak postgame.
Right, but they don't usually speak pregame. So I assume that they're probably going to get asked, hey, is this your guys' fault that Rob Thomson got fired? And we'll have to see what they say for themselves.
I don't know what they're going to say, but our little tidbit, our little news segment on Rob, we didn't expect him to be fired. I mean,
no, we did not.
It was kind of out of the blue, but...
Well, we didn't expect it to happen today at this very moment. Mm-hmm. Like, we knew it was coming inevitably and that it was going to come at some point.
It's early. But... I forgot to talk about the other topics we have coming on this episode. We have the 2 playoff teams that are still going at it.
Yep.
And we have all the Eagles draft picks. So, should be a fun rest of the episode. And before I get started with the 76ers, I just want to talk about one more thing from Dave Dombrowski. One more little tidbit is that he doesn't have any regrets right now about constructing the roster. He says he will have regrets if the team continues to play like this.
He should already have regrets by the fact that he, number one, didn't get a cleanup hitter for the 3rd year in a row. He, once again, decided that he was going to double down on the old person lineup by bringing back the 2 old people that you did have an opportunity to get rid of. I'm not going to sit here and say that they should have gotten rid of Kyle Schwarber, but you can't sit here and deny the fact that he is an old guy. He's an old man.
He is. He's 33.
This is an old team. So if you want to get younger, you have to let go of older players. And that obviously wasn't something that Dave Dombrowski was willing to do. And because of how he has created this roster, that wasn't even a luxury he could have been able to do. Because if you didn't bring Kyle Schwarber back, well, who else was going to bat third or second in this lineup? Because you haven't been able to find people 4 through 9. So you think
I mean, if they hadn't brought Schwarber back, who's batting second? Like
exactly.
Felix Reyes?
So they were kind of pigeonholed into bringing back Kyle Schwarber, because if not, what the hell do you do?
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
The JT thing, at this point, he's not performing well enough, and you already knew last season he wasn't performing well enough for you to give him a long-term contract, and yet you still gave him a long-term contract for no reason.
It's not long-term, but you just gave him an insurmountable amount of money that he's not worth.
I mean long-term as being more than a 1-year contract for a stopgap scenario.
Okay, yeah.
Like, if you wanted to give JT a stopgap contract because you weren't comfortable with what you had currently with the catching, that's fine. You want to be able to go out there and make a change next season, you have the flexibility to do that with a 1-year contract. But if he wasn't willing to agree to that, then you should have just let him walk instead of now being stuck with him for the next 3 seasons.
Well, now you're stuck with Marshawn and Stubbs because you don't have a backup.
Yeah.
And you don't have JT because he's on the injured list.
So, and who knows how many games he's going to end up missing over these next 3 seasons due to injury.
Yeah.
With the fact that he's already missed a substantial portion of the previous 2 seasons with knee problems. And he only plays, the most knee-deteriorating position out of any position in Major League sports, probably. Right? Is there any other sport position that deteriorates your knees the way that catching does?
More than a catcher?
Probably not. Maybe hockey goalie. But
even so.
Other than that, you...
Like a hockey goalie, you're getting maybe swapped out every night or 2.
Right. And you also have plenty of moments.
JT's playing every night.
Yeah. And a hockey goalie, you got plenty of moments where you're standing up in the net, where you're not just crouching or on your knees. There are plenty of times throughout the game where you're sitting there standing. As JT, the only time he's standing is when he's in the dugout or he's at bat.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's constantly crouching. Mm-hmm. He's constantly on his knees. He's constantly taking shots from foul balls and shit because he always seems to get hit by foul balls way more than any other catcher, I feel like. But with him getting injured this quickly into the season, plus his injury history from the previous 2 seasons, it just doesn't make me feel any more comfortable or confident that he's going to be able to deliver on the contract that he's been given.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
It's not a good position for this roster, and it's not a good position for Don Mattingly to really be in as an interim coach.
Not really.
I
mean, maybe we'll see how Don Mattingly reacts to the team, and maybe he can make some changes. But I don't really see change happening to the Phillies this season.
My only thing that I'm thinking is what more can be done, because Rob Thomson rolled out 21 different lineups in 29 or 28 different games.
I mean,
So what more can Don Mattingly do?
Yeah, not much.
What's he gonna do? Make another new lineup? What more can you do?
What are we gonna do? We're gonna bat Alec Bohm lead off instead of cleanup?
Right. You can't just be the answer is not as simple as just being take Stott and move him to the 8 hole and take Crawford and move him to the 5 hole and take Garcia and move. No, because it doesn't matter what lineup configuration or variation that's been put forth this season, it hasn't worked.
No, it hasn't.
It has not worked in any capacity for anyone outside of the 1 through 3 guys, which we know isn't going to change. We know 1 through 3 is just going to be some variation of Schwarber, Turner, and Harper. But outside of that, there hasn't been a successful lineup configuration for 4 through 9 the entire season. So I don't really know what people are expecting Don Mattingly to be able to do to turn this around. It's not on Don Mattingly to turn this around. It's on the players to turn this around. You know, Rob Thomson wasn't getting fired because he was making stupid bullpen decisions. Rob Thomson got fired because his players let him down and didn't perform at all in any capacity.
And that's on Rob Thomson.
So Don Mattingly can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really expecting much from him to actually change this.
That's it for the Phillies, I guess. We'll have to wait and see what it's going to be like in the next coming days and weeks. So
it's looking like it might be a long summer, though.
It might be. Well, we could have a season that ends tonight with the 76ers.
And I'm kind of expecting it to end tonight.
Yeah. They're down 3-1 to the Celtics. I mean, we saw Joel Embiid come back on Game 4, which was, amazing that he came back after missing like no time really with the appendectomy.
Right.
And he was the best player on the court Sunday night against the Celtics in Game 4.
It just didn't matter.
Doesn't matter because no one else was having a good series.
Yeah.
Edgecombe had really good game in Game 2, and besides that, he's been pretty bad all series. Tyrese Maxey has really not been playing good.
I've got a big gripe with
all
Maxey
series either.
That I gotta sit here and I gotta say it. I know that Joel Embiid came back, and when he comes back, you expect him to have a more focal point of the offense. But as Tyrese Maxey and as being the number 2 option on this team and being the guy that's supposed to be the leader whenever Joel Embiid is not on the court, you got to be taking more than 3 shots in the first half. You have to.
Yeah, he's taking no shots.
You can't be taking 3 shots in the first half as Tyrese Maxey. You can't. You have to be more aggressive.
You're the lead.
You're the leading scorer on this team.
You're the guy who plays the most minutes on the team. You have to be out there. You're sitting there doing cardio.
Right, like you put up 3 shots and a half? Why? Why? What happened?
I don't know what is wrong with the 76ers.
Like, I wasn't able to get a chance to watch, the game, but I saw through the box score afterward and through listening to, post game that Maxey was not aggressive basically at all and was very passive to Joel Embiid. And I understand that that's kind of what the expectation is, I guess, but that doesn't mean that you just completely stop shooting the basketball in general.
Stop shooting. And there's another thing, too. It's not the shooting. It's not the bench who has been terrible. It's not the centers.
It's not even the bench that has really been playing.
Been terrible, yeah. It's the defense. The defense. They don't know how to defend against the Celtics, and that's why they're losing in blowout fashion. They're letting guys sit there and take wide open threes like it's nothing. I mean, he passes the ball to Peyton Pritchard. He's wide open. Of course he's going to drill a 3. He scored 35 points off the bench on Sunday night.
I think he made 7 out of 11 of his 3-point attempts.
They're just shooting threes like it's nothing. They're shooting threes like it's layups.
So
I think they had more threes than layups in the first half on Sunday night.
I do know that they had more 3-point shots that fell than the Sixers had 3-point attempts taken in the most recent game. They made 34 threes, and I believe the Sixers took 32 as a team.
Game 1 was over before it even started. I mean, they were out. Once the Sixers got an ounce of life, the Celtics took it away. Game 2 was cool to see how they came back and whatnot. Game 3 was close. I mean, that was the only game where the Sixers actually put in some effort. And then Game 4, I mean, every time the Sixers get a breakaway, the Celtics just take advantage of it. They'll go on a 9-0 run.
Yeah, and
then by that point, the Sixers are out of it.
There's really just not a lot good in this matchup for the Sixers.
Really not.
The Celtics are more athletic. They have more length. They have better shooters. They have a better roster and a better team.
Better everything
overall.
That's why they're the 2 seed.
They have better coaching. They have got better play design. They have a better understanding of spatial awareness and where they should be on the court.
We just saw Rob get fired. I feel like another coach in Philadelphia is going to be leaving soon. That's going to be Nick Nurse if he doesn't pick up the pace either. And I don't even think that Daryl Morey stays either.
The only thing that would keep Nick Nurse here would be if they were to come back and win the next 4 games. Well, the next 3 games, because they would have to win the next 3 games to make it to the next series.
I don't even think they make it.
Even if they make it to the second round,
I don't even think that they
I don't think that would save Nick Nurse's career.
Yeah, that doesn't even save Nurse. That doesn't save Maury.
No.
I mean, if
they would have to get past the next round in order for them to be safe.
The best thing that could happen to this team right now is that they clean housed everybody and Josh Harris came out and said, I'm selling the team.
That would be nice, but it's a pipe dream by the fact that he owns the arena that the Sixers are going to be going to. Like, he is one of the majority owners of, what's it going to be, 76th place? That's going to be the name of it, right?
I'm not sure.
Or whatever.
Well, it's not owned. They're going to name it something because it's
well, yeah, but it's
Comcast
owned by Comcast and Josh Harris and the Blitzer Sports Entertainment.
Comcast has a majority of the rights to the arena.
So I don't see him selling the team and yet keeping the stadium unless he's going to sell his rights to both. But too much money for him to make to just sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm going to sell.
You have the Devils, you have the Redskins, and you have Crystal Palace. Grow up and sell the team. You have 3 other teams to root for, 3 other teams that are better than the Sixers.
Yeah. And the Sixers do seem to be towards the bottom of the pecking order on his sports team.
Yeah, they do.
Hierarchy, I guess, his sports team period.
I mean, they showed him on the broadcast that he was in attendance for game 1. Like, that's probably the only game he's attended all season.
Probably. I have seen him be shown on the broadcast before, but I think it's only been in playoff series. I don't think I've seen him. I
hope he comes up on the Jumbotron at Xfinity if they end up going back to there, and he's on the Jumbotron waving to the crowd, and everyone's sitting there booing at him, throwing all their popcorn and soda and beer. That'd make my day.
What we need to start seeing is the signs for Harris sell the team. That's what
we need to start like a sell the team chant. There hasn't been enough of that, and because it's just really bad. I don't really think this team is going to get any better anytime soon if they...
Honestly, the reason why I think that hasn't happened is because there's just a general apathy towards this team and a general lack of expectations. And because of that general apathy and lack of expectations, no one's sitting there and getting riled up because they're like, this is what I've come to expect from the Sixers. What, am I going to expect them to actually win and get to the next round of the playoffs? That's not the way it goes here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's not the way it goes. It's either they, lose in the first round or lose in the second round.
Right.
Why make the third round?
Yet, if this was the Eagles and they started off 0-3, you would be seeing signs all over the goddamn freaking stadium saying, fire Sirianni.
Fire Sirianni.
Like, you would see him.
Trade Hurts.
Yeah.
Sell the team, Lori.
So, you would see that type of stuff if it was the Eagles, and that's because this is Eagles country. This is a rabid team for the rabid.
We're seeing that right now at the Phillies.
Yeah.
Nobody wants Dave Dombrowski here anymore.
No. And honestly, with the way that it's gone for not only just the Phillies and the Sixers, they are kind of both being saved, or at least scrutiny and attention-wise, by the fact that the Flyers have been as good as they have been.
That's when we should move into the Flyers. Now, I was talking to someone the other day, and they said the same exact thing. Like, why the Phillies haven't been getting the national attention, even though the Mets have been on the same losing path as the Phillies? It's because of the Flyers. No one cares about the Phillies right now because the Flyers are in the playoffs for the first time in, 6 seasons.
Yep. And not only are they, in there for the first time, but they went up 3-0 against the Penguins. I know they've lost the last 2, but I am fully expecting them to come back here and close it out in a nice Game 6 at home.
I mean, that's what happened in 2012. They went up 3-0 on the Penguins.
Yep.
They won the next 2 games, the Penguins, and then the Flyers were able to close it out last Game 6.
Yeah.
And, I really hope they do. They haven't really looked the greatest the past 2 games.
Well, it's going to come down to Vladar. If Vladar is able to play the way that he did the first 3 games, they're going to win.
You got the guys like Crosby. Crosby woke up. Letang, Malkin, Ross. You got the veterans, woken up. And, they have made some mental mistakes. Like last night, they were out for too long. They couldn't clear the puck. They were out on a shift for over 2.5 minutes, and that's what led to a goal. They were too gassed. They couldn't get any defenders out there.
Vladar was also out of position a couple of times.
Vladar has made some mental mistakes. The one where he thought he had the puck, and he kicked it behind him into the net.
That was kind of funny, I'm not going to lie.
That is, it's just a mental mistake. You can't do anything about it.
No, but it is one of those.
He waved his hand up and he had it. And
he thought that it was stuck in his pad, so he thought that it was going to be a stoppage of play because he couldn't get to the puck. It was in his pad, but it was actually in the back of his net.
It was in the back of his net. And then he hears the buzzer go off that says goal, and the crowd starts cheering. He's like, you got to be.
And his head goes up, and he's like, fuck.
Yeah, he knew he messed up there. But, the Flyers were able to pull it back. They were able to tie the game in Game 2, and just that one mental mistake cost them from going into overtime because he was making some really good saves earlier in that contest.
And he has been fantastic the past entire 2 months.
He's been fantastic in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was fantastic for the first 3 games. As long as he gets back to playing the way that he did in games 1 through 3, I have no doubt that the Flyers will at least be able to score 2 to 3 goals and force overtime, if not win in regulation with 2 to 3 goals. Because if you're able to hold the Penguins just to 1 or 2, which Vladar was able to do in games 1 through 3,
they're also making some line changes because they have been having some guys that have been struggling. You have Alex Bump that came in, and he had a really good game. He was probably the best player on the ice last night. But you have Mishkov, who was dropped to the third line.
Yep.
You have.
Well, he didn't play. Did he play at all
in
the last
play.
game? He was a healthy scratch,
He was
right?
a healthy scratch for Bump. You had Tyson Forrester has been dropped to the third line because he hasn't really been playing good. They put Denver Barkey on the third line, and they just been making some line changes. I wonder how that's going to affect them in Game 6. What are they going to do?
It would be nice if you could see them get back to the defensive shape that they had in the first 3 games, because one of the things that I definitely noticed in watching the highlights from Game 5 was the fact that there were too many times where the defense was not set up in a way to actually block shots or block passes into the danger zone in front of the net. And if you look at how they played in games 1 through 3, Pittsburgh wasn't able to get a single pass in down low towards the net, let alone a shot.
No, they weren't.
So if the Flyers are going to be able to really close out this series, they're going to have to, number one, get back to that really good defensive positioning that they had in games 1 through 3. Vladar is obviously going to have to perform better than he has the past 2 games. And I would like to see a little bit more of some speed in their skating and taking advantage of the fact that Pittsburgh's got an older team. They probably got tired legs. Throw some speed at them.
They have to be fast.
Throw some speed at them and tire them out by the time you get to the third quarter.
You need to start off the game like they did last night. You need to be creating pressure as soon as the puck is dropped.
And there needs to be more of a sense of urgency that you see in not just the way that the team is defending, but also in the way that they actually move around the ice. Because since Game 4, they've kind of seemed a little bit like, oh, we got this. We're up 3-0. Don't worry. It doesn't matter. They haven't been playing with that same reckless abandon that they were playing with in the first 3 games. That chippy, physical, fast, I'm going to sock you in the mouth and you're just going to sit there and take it type of mentality. They've kind of leaned back off of that a little bit over the past 2 games. And Pittsburgh has been able to take advantage of it.
They took advantage of it because they haven't been going that hard on those veterans. They've been pissing them off all series. And, they kind of stopped in games 4 and 5.
Right. And even though they did lose Game 5, I don't think that they were severely outplayed in Game 5. I think that they shot themselves in the foot too many times in Game 5 to win that game. They took the opportunity to win that game out of their own hands. It wasn't the fact that Pittsburgh, blew them out of the building, that Pittsburgh played so much better than the Flyers did. The Flyers made too many mistakes, and Pittsburgh was able to take advantage of it. As long as they're able to clean up those mistakes that they're making on their own team, then They should be able to win this
They
next
should
game.
be able to
and
win, yeah.
It shouldn't be too stressful. Games 1 through 3, at least from my viewing experience, I wasn't stressed at all the entire time. Even when they were losing that time in Game 2 and Game 3. Were you stressed out?
They were able to come back. They took advantage of it.
It didn't feel like there was pressure on them. Now it kind of does. Like, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the first 3 games when they went down in Games 2 and Game 3, I had the confidence with how they were playing that, oh no, they're going to get the next goal and then they're going to get the third goal after and they're going to go up 2-1. And that's what happened. When they went down with the first goal in Game 4, and since then, I haven't had that same confidence of they're playing well enough where they're going to get the next goal. And in Game 5, the fact that they didn't get goal 2 and that Pittsburgh went up 2-0 really changed the entire dynamic of that game. Because at that point, you're no longer playing with that recklessness because you have to be defensive. You can't sit there and maybe move out of position to lay a hit on someone, because if you do, you might potentially go 3 goals down, and now there's no chance for you to win the game.
Yeah, there's no chance.
So
the fact that they were able to crawl back with that, but it's...
Good sign. It was a good sign, especially from a young team. They didn't get discouraged by being down 2-0. They came back. They tied it up. They weren't able to close the door, but it's okay. You know? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be negative. Flyers are still in a very good position, and as I said, they still didn't seem like they got outplayed in Game 5. It seems like they kind of lost the game more than Pittsburgh went out and won the game.
The Flyers are lucky that they're a young team and they're in the playoffs, because if this was the Phillies we were talking about...
Oh, we'd be on them now. We'd be on them.
Fire coming out of our mouths.
But it's hard to be on a team when you're just happy that they are in the position that they're in.
They're in the playoffs for the first time in 6 seasons. A lot of these guys are just making the playoffs for the first time.
Exactly. So
it's a big adjustment.
And plus, a lot of these guys have never had to close out a team before. You know, like, there's a difference in the energy of how you prepare for a closeout game as opposed to just a regular postseason game. You know, like, you're just playing the regular postseason game. You're like, all right, well, we got at least the next 2 games, 3 games, whatever it may be. In a closeout game, you're sitting there and you're like, you're trying to, number one, close it out in that game. That brings on different nerves, brings on more pressure, brings on a different set of emotions throughout the entirety of the game. And I think Tocchet even said it in his press conference. They got to play a little bit more relaxed. They seem like they're kind of pressing a little bit, like they're gripping the stick too tight. And
that's one thing they'll have to adjust in Game 6.
And that's, I guess, what you expect from a young team.
Yeah.
You know? And young team, not familiar with this situation, they're going to feel the pressure of closing it out and going on to the next series to play Carolina, which is probably, if not the best team, the second best team
Carolina
in the NHL.
is the best team in the Eastern Conference. And no, they did not win the President's Trophy.
No, but talent-wise, I think that they're probably a top 2 team in the NHL.
Yeah, like, record-wise and talent-wise.
Yeah, so when you're in a closeout game, you can't help but sit there and kind of look ahead a little bit, I feel like. And maybe that's what the Flyers kind of have been doing a little bit, is been looking ahead to that Carolina series without fully closing out Pittsburgh. So that could also play into that type of lackadaisical type of out-of-position type of thing, because you're not focused on the actual task at hand. You're kind of focused on the next round. So something that Flyers have definitely got to focus up and concentrate to nip it in the bud and make sure this series doesn't get to a Game 7. But I'm pretty confident that they're going to end up closing it out tomorrow night.
I hope so as well. Now we can get on to the
draft.
The draft, yup.
Nice little draft recap. Now, it has been a little bit after the draft, and
the Eagles have made all their picks. They've made all their trades.
Yep.
And
I did not include the trades in here, and just because I figured, since this is like the draft recap, I'm just going to put the draft
that's fine
guys in here.
Yeah.
But we can still mention the trades because they happened during the draft. You can't talk about the Eagles draft without talking about the trades for Greenard. And Why am I blanking on the second trade? Greenard and...
Because that was the only major trade.
I know that they made another trade.
They made
Didn't
a
bring
trade in the 7th round.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's why. But let's start it off with round 1.
So the Eagles traded up. They had 23. They traded up to 20.
Yep.
Tyler, walk me through Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver out of USC.
So Mekhi Lemon, coming out of USC, was primarily a slot receiver for them. There were a couple special instances where he would line up as the X receiver, or he even lined up in the backfield. So he only had a couple of rushing plays, and he was used in end-arounds down towards the goal line. So he does have the rushing potential, and he does have some clear speed and burst and making players miss ability by the fact that he was able to score 2 rushing touchdowns in, I think, 6 goal line attempt rushes, which, hey, that's pretty good for someone that's not a running back. But really his thing that is really big with him is his size, his speed, and the fact that he's got a lot of great route running concepts. And even though he's not the biggest wide receiver, he's not 6'2", he's not 6'3" or anything like that, he's 5'11", he's got a big enough body and uses his positioning to be a red zone threat by the fact that he had 11 receiving touchdowns last season. And not only did he have 11 receiving touchdowns, he had over, I think, 1,200 yards last season.
You assume now he slots into wide receiver too.
You would assume that he slots as...
Brown gone, you have
Right.
Smith as the wide receiver 1.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they were to use him in the slot, though, and have Hollywood Brown be the second outside receiver.
I could see that, yeah.
Just because...
Just to see what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Plus, that's the role that he's comfortable with, because that's what he's played the past 2 seasons at USC, and he's produced in that role. So I don't know if you want to potentially break that comfortability and take him out of the slot and move him on the outside. He probably does have the capability to do it because he got explosive plays in literally 10 out of 12 games that he played in last season and had, I think, a total of 13 or 14 receptions that were for 20 yards or more. So he is capable of taking the ball downfield and catching those long passes and having explosive plays. But it seems like he has been in his most comfortable when he's coming out of the slot. And as much as it would be nice to force him into that number 2 to be opposite of Devontae Smith, I think it would be better just for him personally, at least in this first season, to get him comfortable by getting his feet wet in the slot position. And then I know that it's probably not ideal, but having Hollywood Brown, who has been an X receiver or a Z receiver in the past, having him be the Z this season might not be the worst thing possible. Plus,
It's an evaluation. You probably see it week 1, see how it happens. Maybe give it like to week 3 or 4, or maybe even 5. See where you go from there. You know, if Lemon's doing really good, you bump him up to that, wide receiver 2.
And
or maybe what if Hollywood Brown does good? You keep him where he's at, and you keep running the same method with the new coordinator.
Right. And one of the things that I think that we can all witness by watching the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur type style of offense that's being brought to the Eagles is how important it is to have a wide receiver with positional versatility. Look at the way that the Rams use Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. They don't always line up opposite of each other. Sometimes they're on the same side together. Sometimes Puka's lined up in the slot. Sometimes Devontae's lined up as the X and Puka's the Z. They like to have a lot of that positional versatility. And with the fact that the Eagles now are going to have Mekhi Lemon, Hollywood Brown, Devontae Smith, and who's the fourth guy I'm missing?
Dontavian Wicks.
Yes, Dontavian Wicks. That does give them more of a positionless type of wide receiver pool where, yes, Devontae is probably going to be the number 1, but the rest of the guys that you have, you can move them around to different spots on the field. Hollywood Brown could be a slot guy or a Z guy. Same with Mekhi Lemon. He could be a slot or a Z. And with how much his offense, or this Eagles offense, I'm assuming, is going to be running motion this season, because that's what is a very, very trademark thing in that type of offense, that Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay offense. It's going to be important that you have receivers that can line up in one area of the field, move to another area of the field, and still be able to produce.
Yeah.
So, really, really good draft pick. I was a little bit surprised that they went with wide receiver in the first round, but by the looks of it, it seems like the Eagles traded up because a player fell way further down than what they were expecting.
They were expecting that, yeah.
And they took advantage of it.
He was on the phone with the Steelers.
Yeah.
The Eagles called, we're stealing you away.
Yeah, so
That was a little bit funny to see.
the fact that...
And, the Eagles, they want this guy.
Yeah.
They know that AJ's gone, and they believe that that this guy can be, a replication of his production.
Yeah, and you don't trade up just to make a pick for the sake of making a pick because you're losing a player at that position. They traded up because they obviously like what this kid brings to the table, and they have a vision for what he's going to be in this offense going forward. And if that's the case, I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a bad pick, picking him at, instead of a offensive lineman, especially because if A.J. Brown does get traded, which we're all expecting him to get traded, this is just another cost-effective way to make it so that, hey, you can now pay some of these guys on defense, because if you've got this guy as your number 2 wide receiver, he's going to be making a fraction of what A.J. Brown was making. And if that's the case, that means maybe you can sign Jalen Carter to a long-term extension, which they did exercise the 5th-year option on him.
They did exercise that option, and same with Nolan Smith.
Right, and you're going to be able maybe to extend both Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, because at the current rate that you're at with how you're spending money, if you weren't to get rid of A.J. Brown, I don't know if you're going to have the money available to sign both of those guys.
That move isn't coming until at least after June 1st.
Yeah, so I like the pick. And even after, seeing that the Eagles really needed positions other than wide receiver, I'm still happy with it.
Yeah.
And
that brings us to our next pick. So
that's going to be Eli Stowers,
the tight end from Vanderbilt. And this guy is physical.
Yes.
He's 6'4", 240 pounds.
Big boy.
Big boy, yeah. He's a tight end. He's listed as a tight end, but he can definitely move like a wide receiver. And
yeah, he's a converted quarterback.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he was definitely a running quarterback
He's got some
his
moves.
athleticism.
And, the Eagles have always had success drafting tight ends in the second round. You have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, and they're hoping that Eli Stowers can replicate what the two of those did.
Yeah,
because you brought back Dallas Goedert on a 1-year contract. You knew you were going to look for a tight end, and you had brought him back, so the tight end wasn't a priority in the first round. And
no.
You have Eli most likely coming in to be the starting tight end once Goddard's gone, because Kenyon Sadiq went to the Jets at 16. If Goddard is gone, the Eagles are trading up in the draft to get him.
Potentially, but
because we're not drafting Eli Stowers in the first round.
One of the things that I really love about this pick is the fact that he's going to be used, I feel, this season a lot. And the reason
I could see that too,
is because tight end is a very, very important position in that Kyle Shanahan type of offense. Look at the guys, look at the 2 tight ends that both of those teams have that basically use this type of system. Tucker Kraft, one of the best tight ends probably in all of the National Football League, and George Kittle, who is arguably one of the best
if not
tight
the
ends
best tight end
in NFL history.
Yup.
So the tight end position is important
the only thing
when you're going with this type of offense.
I see with Stowers and Goddard is that Stowers cannot block.
No, he's not a blocking tight end.
If they were going to have to use him, they would have to use Goddard or someone else. Like, if they're going to throw to him, they need Goddard to be blocking.
Yeah, and I do expect that there's going to be a lot of 2 tight end formations.
Because if you're going to run a two tight end formation, you have to use either Stowers or Munt. Because one of the two, because you're not not Stowers, Goddard or Munt. Because, Calcaterra can't block.
Well, one of the two tight ends needs to be chipping before going out to run the route.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really seem like Eli Stowers is at that point in his game yet where he's going to be the guy that's chipping someone. He's probably going to get run over if that's the case and not going to complete his route. And you're taking someone completely out of the play at that point. So you're probably going to see Dallas Goedert being a little bit more underutilized, I want to say. And
it just depends what the new scheme with the offensive coordinator is.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? A screen to Dallas Goedert and think you're going to get flashbacks of Kevin Patullo?
No, I don't think there's going to be any type of tight end bubble screens or anything like that.
Thank God.
But one thing of note is that in arguably the two biggest games of Vanderbilt's season last year, or the two games that Eli Stowers had his best performances. So against Texas, which was the third to last week of the season. So this was when Vanderbilt only had one loss. So they were still in consideration for making the college football playoff. This was a very, very important game for the team and for the program. How does he respond? 7 receptions for 156 yards and a touchdown. Pretty damn good.
Yeah, pretty damn good.
Now, they did lose the game, but that put even more impetus on the next week for them to win to keep their hopes alive.
Mm-hmm.
What does he do in that week? He just gets 12 receptions for 122 yards and another touchdown.
That's like that's receiver numbers as a tight end.
So he's got the talent to really be there and be a main guy.
Dual threat talent right there.
Yeah, and that's the type of numbers that you would expect to see from a guy like Tucker Kraft or George Kittle.
Yeah.
So he does fit in with that mold, and he does fit in probably with what this Eagles offense is going to be trying to do. So I love the pick, even though he's not the greatest blocker right now. Blocking, I feel like, is one thing that can definitely be coached up over time. What you can't coach is athleticism. And this kid has got that in freaking spades by the fact that he's got a 45-inch vertical jump. So he's got basically a jump of a basketball player. That is elite level jumping.
That is insane.
From even basketball player standards. Like, if you are in the combine for the NBA, if you got over a 38-inch vertical, that's seen as very good for an NBA prospect. So the fact that he's got 45.5 is a little ridiculous. Pair that with the 11-foot 3-inch broad jump. That
is pretty fucking good.
That's almost Olympic level elitism. Like, I searched it up just because I was curious, right? The elite broad jump for track and field people competing at the world stage and like winning gold medals is 1 yard or 12 feet. He's 9 inches away from being at a world record, or not a world record, but a world-class track and field athlete away from broad jumping, essentially. So if he really wanted to, he could probably be like a freaking track and field broad jumper and probably end up winning a medal if he actually took it seriously. That's how good of an athlete this kid is. Mm-hmm. And that cannot be understated when it comes to how that's definitely going to play into his first season with the Eagles and how he's going to be able to take advantage of the fact that he's the second tight end on the field. He's not going to be getting the primary guy on coverage for tight ends. So he's going to have great matchups that he's going to be able to exploit probably all season long. And he's probably going to put up some pretty decent numbers for the Eagles this season.
I could see that, yeah. And it gives a good cushion knowing that if Goddard, if or when he departs, the Eagles have a guy that is trusted, that they can look towards, like
someone that also has done it for a season.
They don't have to worry,
right? Like
pretty much.
The fact that he'll be here, he has already done it for a season. He knows the coaching staff. It'll make everything more seamless in the transition when Dallas Goedert does leave, which we all think is going to be at the end of this season. But
most likely,
you never know.
You never know. Yeah,
he could end up just having a affinity for Philadelphia, and he just wants to.
But he hasn't. But if he has another career season,
makes
a lot of money. So
exactly. But that brings us to round 3.
Round 3, Markel Bell, offensive tackle, Miami. This guy is huge.
Another big guy.
6'9", 346 pounds.
Dude, 6'9" is fucking
This guy
huge.
is absolutely
That's LeBron James
ginormous
height, dude.
Yeah, that is LeBron James height.
That's LeBron James height.
He is very good for the Hurricanes.
Yeah. He started 21 out of 23 games, so he only missed 2 games due to injury. He's got great size obviously, by his measurables, and he also has great length. His arm reach is 7'2" wingspan for a guy that's 6'9", and as an offensive tackle, you're definitely going to be able to use that to your advantage. The fact that you are able to keep guys 7 feet away from you with your arms. One thing that they have said as maybe a drawback for him.
His biggest factors are his weight and his height. But
right.
Drawback, he's struggled against like quick pass rushers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He struggles against guys who are smaller, and the reason he struggles against them is because of his size. Like, his thing that makes him attractive is also one of his biggest flaws.
Yeah, which is something that he's going to have to improve in training camp, but he's not going to be a starter this season.
No, it's a
stopgap.
This is a project for the offensive line coach to work with him and get him ready for next season to take over if Lane Johnson decides to call it quits at the end of the year.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen with Lane Johnson or Landon Dickerson or whoever else. So I feel like it's just another move to bolster the offensive line because you don't know what's going to happen, and if they can work with him and they can improve his his like pass rushing flaws that he has, he can turn into a really good guy with his size.
Yeah,
and he could become a threat.
And it also kind of reminds me a little bit just the size and the measurables of Mekhi Becton.
I was going to say, Mekhi Becton.
Very similar body type style. Now, I don't expect him to be playing guard, but we saw how effective he was when he was here. So if Markel Bell is able to give any type of production that is similar to that next season, I'm pretty sure that we would all say sign me up for that. I mean, it's not like he's going to be at the same level as Lane Johnson. I don't really think anyone's expecting that.
No one's really going to like be able to compete with Lane Johnson,
but he is going to be someone that
decent production
you would think
is all that we need.
Yeah, someone that's good enough, you would think, where the Eagles will feel comfortable with him as the starter going forward next year and won't feel the need to draft a replacement.
Another one,
for Lane Johnson because he's already here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that brings us to round 5 because the Eagles did trade their round 4 pick.
Yes, they did.
To the Cowboys. They moved up for Mekhi Lemon. So their next pick is in round 5. And another quarterback from North Dakota State. So
now, not from North Dakota State University, not NDSU.
No.
North Dakota State.
No, it was from NDSU.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it was from NDSU. You're correct. North Dakota State. Carson Wentz's alma mater.
Yep.
Cole Payton, a quarterback. And I'd say he's likely the replacement for Tanner McKee next season. I don't know if he's going to be the backup or Tanner McKee's going to be the backup or Vandy Dalton is.
I would most likely think that McKee is probably going to leave to try and get some type of position battle where he can compete to be a starter in this league.
Yeah, you could see that happening.
But I definitely don't expect him to be here next season. I expect that the Eagles will try to either trade him away because they know that he's not going to re-sign with the team to be a backup, or he's just going to play out the rest of this season and he's going to end up just leaving in free agency to pursue some other team, some other venture somewhere else.
Which is whatever, but it's always nice to have another backup quarterback in here because you don't know where he's going to be after this. You know, where maybe he's the backup, maybe he's the third string, maybe he's off the team. I don't know.
But one thing that I don't want to say but one thing that I do find to be beneficial for Cole Payton is the fact that they did bring Andy Dalton in here as the third quarterback. And if you're going to be able to sit on the bench behind Jalen Hurts and watch him, and also simultaneously having Andy Dalton break down what's going down on the field for you, I think that sets up pretty well for Cole Payton to step in as a backup next season. Now, I have no idea how his arm strength is going to translate to the NFL. He does not have a very big arm in the sense of launching it down the field, but he does have good zip on his intermediate and short throws, and he does seem to have a fairly accurate arm. So that's about a backup level quarterback. You're not expecting some backup to come in and throw a 40-yard bomb.
You're not expecting superstardom from a backup.
No. What you're expecting is solid, short, intermediate throws mixed with some running, play action, and good plays by your receivers
just good all
to get
around.
Open. Yeah. You're not looking for him to throw the ball 40 yards over the defense's head, though.
No.
So that's not his game, and that's not what the Eagles are going to expect out of him. So for where he's been picked, I feel like he's going to fill the role that he's been picked for pretty serviceable.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
So that brings us to round 6, and it's another guard from Georgia, because they love selecting from Georgia.
Yep, they love the SEC.
They do. Micah Morris. And another big man, 6'5", 335 pounds, and he has some good strength to pair with that size.
Yeah. So he had a very good combine. So for someone that is his size, 6'5", 335 pounds, is a big man.
Mm-hmm.
For them to run a 5.09 40 is pretty good. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That shows that you do have the speed to get up to the second level on run plays when you're blocking. And that's something that the Eagles obviously really look for when they come to offensive linemen, because we all know they love to run the football. And if you're able to get offensive linemen into that second tier, Saquon Barkley is going to be able to spring who knows how many good runs off. So the fact that he's got that potential, even if he's not fully ready to probably step in and do that, is very good sign for someone that's been picked in the 6th round. He also has incredible strength, registering 29 reps on the bench press, which
29 reps.
29 reps is a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
You know how heavy that shit is at the combine? It's like 400 plus pounds. And he's doing 29 reps of that. That's pretty damn good. He's also got one of the best broad jumps for any offensive lineman at the combine at 9 feet and 5 inches. So he's got some athleticism. He's got some speed. He's got strength, obviously. He's very athletically ready for the NFL. Only thing is that he doesn't have a great amount of experience. He only started in his senior year, which usually when you're drafting offensive linemen, you're drafting guys that have played for 2+ seasons. You kind of want people
that won 2 to 3 seasons.
Right.
Not
so
one season.
That's really not in Micah Morris's favor for him. And the other thing is that he's got to work on his hand placement, essentially. Even though he's got good size, good speed, and good strength, he doesn't always put his hands in the right spot to effectively block people by getting underneath their pads. And because of that, he's able to push people off, and they kind of gain space and can go around him. So one thing that he's definitely going to have to get better with is just being able to keep his hands on the block and not having the block getting shed. But other than that, he seems like he's a pretty solid prospect. He is a project. It's not going to be this season that you're going to see him. Even if there's injuries, I wouldn't expect to see him this season. But it's someone that you might be able to see 2 years from now if and when Landon Dickerson retires.
Yeah. So now to the final round, and the Eagles made 3 selections in the 7th round after having no picks at all in the 7th. They were able to make some trades. They got the 7th from the Vikings, and they got a couple of 7ths from the Rams. And here are the 3 picks: Cole Wisniewski from Texas Tech, Uwar Bernard from Nigeria, and Keyshawn James Newby from New Mexico. So I took it to the 7th round for the Eagles to select a safety.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely too happy
about that. I'm
not
sure why Howie Roseman decided to do that. You had the safety from, what's his face? Toledo. You had him there at 54, and I feel like the Phillies should have just not the Phillies,
The Eagles.
the Eagles. They should have just went for it there, but I'm not Howie Roseman, so I'm not too sure.
I'm not entirely too sure either. I wasn't thrilled by the fact that it took them to the 7th round to take a safety anyway. I wasn't happy with that either. And, he's a 7th round guy. You're not really expecting too much from him. But he did have a pretty decent season last year. He had 45 tackles, which for a safety, that's not bad, And he seems like he is the Reed Blankenship type of prototype where he is at his best when he's laying hard hits and he's down at the
I don't know if
point
they're
of
trying
attack
to think
for
of
running.
I don't know if they're trying to think of some like Reed Blankenship thing where they get a safety late because he
That's
was
what I'm
undrafted
thinking.
and he becomes captain or whatever.
Right, that's what I'm thinking with this type of pick, especially by the fact that he's almost exactly the same body type.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'4", 220. Reed was 6'3", 210, I think, or 6'3", 205. So he's almost
So they
like
do
the
have
same
a lot
exact
in
body type.
comparison.
Yes, and that does bode well, I guess, for Wisniewski and for the Eagles by the fact that he's a very similar player. But just because he's got similar height, weight, measurables, and play style doesn't mean he's going to give you similar production.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly have no idea what to expect
I don't
from
know
this kid.
either. So I doubt he'll be starting, but
I doubt that he'll be starting either, but who knows? Maybe he'll have certain series where he will get in and he will get some playing time.
Safety is limited.
Right, and we all know how Makuba has had injury history.
Yeah, Makuba and you got Epps and whoever else is there, so he's definitely got a good opportunity.
Yeah, he's going to at least see some opportunities in training camp and in the preseason to at least make a little bit of a name for himself within the coaching staff, within the building. But you got to expect that they're probably going to sign some other type of either undrafted safety or maybe free agent safety that hasn't been picked up, or maybe one that will get cut. Because you can't go into the season with
this group of safeties.
with
Something will
your
have to
safeties
change.
being Drew Makuba, who played in, 12 games last season?
Drew Makuba, Marcus Epps, and this guy.
Right, Marcus Epps, who got cut from plenty of teams last year, and the Eagles only picked him up out of injury necessity and the fact that he was a familiar face.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going into the season as that guy and Makuba as the starting guys, you definitely got to do something to bring someone else in here other than this kid.
Yep.
So there probably will be another safety move, whether or not that's through a trade or through some type of signing of a undrafted guy or someone that gets cut in training camp. Not entirely sure. But the real guy that I'm looking or highlighting here for this round is Bernard. Now,
yeah, Bernard is, interesting. He comes from the International Player Program, which is the same thing that
Jordan Mailata
came from. So that's something that they have that's kind of in common.
Not only that, they both play the same position. Or not the same position.
Not the same position.
They're both linemen.
They are both linemen. He's an offensive lineman. He's a defensive lineman, Bernard.
Yep. And from what I've seen from his combine numbers, dude is a freak athletically. 6'4", 306 pounds, yet he's still able to run a 4.640.
Wow.
That's insane.
That is really good.
That's insane. Mm-hmm. He's got a 38-inch vertical, which that's pretty damn good for a defensive tackle over 300 pounds. The fact that you can almost jump 40 inches off the ground.
I'm surprised. The one thing I was surprised about is that he was in the green room when they called his name, because I was watching the broadcast and I was like, this guy's still in the green room.
He must have known that he was going to get selected at some point.
Yeah. Because they had a guy from Navy get selected by the Steelers, and he walked out as well with the commissioner. And I was like, I wonder why.
But not only does he have that 38-inch vertical, he's also got a 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump. Yeah. Which, that's insane for a guy that's 300 pounds. The fact that he can almost jump friggin' 11 feet. Now, he's very raw. He doesn't have any collegiate playing experience.
He has no football playing experience.
Right. So he's an extremely raw athlete that is going to have to be molded into a football player, essentially. But he does have the measurables and the athleticism to make you think that he could pull it off. And the Eagles have had success with players from the International Player Program before, and the fact that Jordan Mailata has gotten a $68 million contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it shows that anything is possible.
Yeah, and it's not like he did at least have rugby experience, so he was familiar at least with the rules and a little bit of what football was like. That's the one thing that differs, is that this kid doesn't have any of that experience. This kid is completely new to the entire sport, essentially. So it's going to be a while, I would expect, before you see anything from him. And he might be a guy that you might not see on the active roster at all this year. He might just be a practice squad guy.
Practice squad, special teams maybe?
Maybe. I don't know if he can even play special teams.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have no idea what this kid can do on the field.
Yeah.
No idea. All we know is that he's got some freak athleticism for the size that he's at. And they have him listed as defensive tackle, but I don't even know if that's where he's going to be because he's never played a snap at defensive tackle. So who knows, you know? He could end up being an edge rusher, or he could end up being a linebacker or some shit. He would probably have to lose some weight.
I don't know.
But
300-pound linebacker.
He'd probably have to lose a little bit of weight to be linebacker, but you never know.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that literally has no position right now. So they're going to, I assume, put him in a bunch of different scenarios, see what he ends up performing the best at, and go from there. And
it's unknown right now. So
yeah,
one more pick to go.
And that is Keyshawn James Newby.
Okay, the mic's cut off at the end of our recording session. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, so we forgot to talk about the last draft pick by the Eagles, and that is Keyshawn James Newby. He was the exact next pick after Uar Bernard. He's an edge rusher from New Mexico who actually had a really good season last year with 9 sacks. He is a bit undersized, though, as a edge rusher, and he'll have to put on some weight if he wants to stick around in the NFL, as he's only 6'2" and 244 pounds. You know, going up against 300-pound linemen will be no small task, but he has shown an ability to bend and rip blocks from larger defenders to rush around the edge. He has good speed and athleticism, and he's able to follow the play, which is, you know, really good for the Eagles, especially the backfield. But he'll also need to maintain great tackling and positioning to avoid being cut or being on the practice squad or being confined to special teams. So we apologize for that technical difficulty. That's going to be wrapping up our episode for today. I want to make sure that you guys follow us on our socials and catch us wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, guys.